Hey guys, in this video I'm going to show you a little bit about how the gradebook in Canvas works. So I've made this little tutorial site just so I could show you on a small scale kind of how stuff works and how it affects students. So you'll notice that the gradebook has a column for every assignment that we've put into the course. And then it also has several different subtotal columns over here. And then if you scroll over just a little bit more, there's a total column at the very end. So unfortunately, the way the Canvas gradebook is, you can't add subtotal columns yourself or new columns directly from the gradebook. The best way to manage the gradebook is through the Course Assignments tab. So if you click on these three bars here at the top of the gradebook, you can then go to the Assignments tab from here. But before we do that, I do want to show you a couple other things with the gradebook. So it doesn't seem like that big of a deal in this small class of 4 students plus the test student, but if you have a really large section of a class, this little trick will help you. Let's say that you have an assignment where the due date has passed, but you had several students not turn in the assignment. You can actually change the grade for all of those students who didn't turn in the assignment to a 0 right here from the top of the column. So you click on this little down arrow, and then you choose Set Default Grade. So I'm going to click there. So you give all the students the same grade for the peer eval grade adjustment. So we'll just say everyone gets a 0 who didn't do it. So what you don't want to do is click this box. So this box says overwrite already entered grades. So if you have, 300 students who did the assignment and were graded for it, you don't want the 0 to override that. So you keep that box unchecked and then you click on Set Default Grade. So I'll click there. 4 student scores were updated, hit OK. So you'll see those null grades have now been changed to a 0. So we can go over here. Let's say this one student did complete the honor code. We can do that trick again, set default grade, set it to 0, keeping this box unchecked. We set default grade. So we hit OK, and you'll notice every grade was changed except for this one student who had in fact completed the assignment. So this is helpful in that it will keep the student's grade accurate to what they have and have not turned in. If you don't take the time to set the default grade to 0 after the due date has passed, students might have an inflated perception of their grade in the class, especially because the default view for Canvas is to show scores only for graded assignments. So if you leave it as a null grade, it just drops that assignment out of the calculation altogether. And so students will think that they're doing okay in your class, even though the case may be that they are failing because they haven't completed a lot of the assignments. So it's worthwhile to go through and change that default grade to 0 when appropriate. Okay, so now if we want to add a column to this gradebook, as I mentioned before, we would do that through the Assignments tab. So we can go over here and go to Assignments, and you'll see that there's several different assignment groups here, including unassigned and blog. So you want to make sure that your assignment groups are cleaned up and accurate so that you don't confuse students. If we flip back to the gradebook really quickly, you'll notice that for every assignment group, there's a subtotal for that assignment group. So if you want to make a subtotal column, what you would do is in the Assignments tab, you would make an assignment group by going up here and clicking on Add Group. So let's say that we have a group for attendance. So we can add that group name and hit Save. So what you'll notice is that right now I have attendance in the assignments assignment group. So if we were in the gradebook looking at that assignment subtotal over here, that would actually include their attendance. You'll notice that since I added that attendance subgroup, we now have a subtotal column here for attendance. So if we go back to assignments, we can click there and just drag and drop that roll call attendance right on down to that new attendance assignment group that I created. So if we then take another look at the gradebook, clicking on grades, we can see if we put something now into roll call attendance, we'll say Michael did 100% attendance. So that's going to now show up in that attendance subtotal column instead of in the assignment subtotal column. So in my class, let's say I don't have a blog. So that is going to confuse students if they see a subtotal for that. So as I mentioned, we want to keep those assignment groups pretty clean and accurate to the way that their grade is going to break down so that they aren't confused. So if I don't have blog in my class, what I can do is just click on the three dots here and click on delete. So I'm going to delete that subgroup. I'm going to delete the unassigned subgroup as well. Just get rid of it. Now if we go and look at the gradebook, we can see that those superfluous subtotals are now gone because I've deleted those matching subgroups or assignment groups. So you'll also notice I have 3 quizzes here in the class. They're each worth 50 points. So if we put in some quiz grades, we would start to see those subtotal here. You'll notice this quiz grade has 100%. That's because, remember, we put in a 1 for this student for the honor code acknowledgement quiz. So you can see in action, if the student hasn't completed 3 of the quizzes, it'll still show at 100% because those are null grades instead of the 0 grades that we want to make sure that we're putting in for every assignment that was not submitted. So what you may choose to do is move this honor code acknowledgement to its own assignment subgroup. So again, we can go back to assignments. We could create a new group called honor code quiz. Hit save. So then we can then take this honor code acknowledgement and just put it into its own subgroup so that students aren't confused by that subtotal. So the default for Canvas is to equally weight all 3 grades into that subtotal. But let's say we wanted to drop the lowest quiz. So right now we have quiz 1, 2, and 3. So if we want to tell Canvas to drop the lowest, what we would do is click here on these 3 dots by the assignment group, and then click on Edit. So then here you can actually choose how many scores to ignore for each student. So we wanted to drop the lowest. So we're going to tell it to drop the 1 lowest score, and then we just click on Save. So now you'll see this comes up, 1 rule, drop the lowest score, now is the rule that we put in. So if we look at the gradebook again, we will see that the honor code quiz now has its own column. We've got the quizzes here. So we can say, let's say John got a 45, a 43, and a 50 on the quizzes. So you'll see that the quiz 2 has been dropped and is now grayed out because that is the score that's not being included in the quiz total for the class. Please let me know if you have any questions. I hope that this video has helped clear up how the gradebook works. And I will talk to you soon in another video.